Hello and welcome to Canada Footy TV. I'm Ryan May, joined again by Samir Murji and Owen Hall for a virtual Squaretable. Tonight, we're here to recap the Canadian women's national team's 1-1 draw with England in England at the Arnold Clark Cup. So the Canadian women's national team kicked off their 2022 season, a very important season in the scope of the next 3 years of Canadian women's footy, which we will definitely get to, with an entertaining 1-1 draw with England. JANINE BECKIE scored a screamer. Millie Bright also did nice things for England from the edge of their box. Lots of quality on display. First things first, let's revisit last night's predictions. Did any of us get it right? I did not get it right.
The man who stole my prediction got it right.
I think we know. I think we know.
Yeah.
Cautiously optimistic was my strategy, and it paid off.
Yes.
Your years of being an Arsenal fan have treated you well. You came away with the real. I can't, as a Liverpool fan, can't do that. A 1-1, it's not in my vocabulary. I don't know what that is. I can't predict that. So, what was your favorite goal from today?
It has to be Becky's goal. I mean, I don't think any of us is gonna say any other goal. The run from Lawrence from the defense to set up the goal, and the finish was just exquisite. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, what a goal. Arjen Robben-esque finish, cutting him on the left. Or, as an Arsenal fan, Nico Pepe, but that he's not been much of a bright spot so far. But
it's more like a Riyad Mahrez finish, her counterpart at Manchester City. She trains with them daily, so
that's true. Whatever left-footed star you want to say, great finish, and I felt like that invigorated the team a little bit from there to go and play some better football. They're a bit more progressive, and there's a great spark not only for the game, but it could be a spark for the tournament as well.
Yeah, but to put it frankly, we were kind of trash in that first half. So that second half, we really picked things up. Canada looked like a completely different team, and that goal, like you said, spearheaded the rest of the game. I mean, Canada looked confident moving forward.
Well, maybe I asked the wrong crew of people because I follow a little bit of English Twitter as well, and they were definitely liking that Millie Bright goal. So, Canadians, we're all about the JANINE BECKIE goal. But before we go any further, I would like to bring on a special guest, and I'm going to bring him in right now. So we are honored to bring on a dedicated Canadian soccer journalist for both national teams, the Vancouver Whitecaps and the Canadian Premier League, writer for Between the Sticks, and co-host of the Third Sub Pod. Welcome to Canada Footy TV, Alexandre Gangué-Ruzic. How are you doing, my man? And how was the last day for you? I feel like it was a little busy. You were over in Hamilton with our buddy Thomas Neff, covering Forge FC and Cruz Azul in the first leg of the CONCACAF Champions League. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm doing great, first of all, and thanks a ton for having me on the show. Always a pleasure to come on and chat Canadian soccer. And yeah, it's been a whirlwind. It feels wild to think that it's all been in 24 hours. You got a big game in Hamilton. Next day, Canada plays. It's always fun, fun times when Canada plays in any competition, no matter the opponent. But to be playing England, always exciting. And then obviously Forge playing in the Champions League, two big games in a short span. But it's the kind of stuff we live for, right? Especially after the last few years, we haven't always had those big games. Maybe last year that obviously changed. So never going to take it for granted, that's for sure.
No, just having the live events back, being able to run back and forth between them, it's a dream come true, which is something we never thought we'd be saying 3 years ago. Let's start with today's game. Canada drew 1-1 with England at the Riverside Stadium in Middlesbrough, as we know, and we've all had some sort of time to think about the game now. I want to go around to each of you guys. What was your initial reaction post-game? Did you come away feeling good about this performance? Alexander?
Yeah, to start, I think it was kind of a tale of two halves for me. I felt like after that first half, I was a bit, discouraged in the sense of, okay, It wasn't really the sort of Canada we're used to seeing. They were sitting back a little deeper than usual. They just weren't able to string together much in midfield. They were struggling in the final third. And usually, you know, we can talk about, oh, Canada struggles to score goals and this and that. But even then, Canada's always going to be a solid defensive team. They're going to string together passes. For me, missing those two things was the biggest, you know, jarring part about that first half. But then as the second half came on, they found those things. They started to be a little more solid defensively, maybe still not at their best, but first game of the year, we'll see if that's, you know, what's to come, or if that is just kind of a rust thing, getting used to playing with each other, players being out of season, et cetera, et cetera. They started to string together more passes. The final third is still a bit of a worry. I mean, I thought, you know, Canada didn't generate as much as they'd want to in the final third, but at the same time, there were flashes. There were moments where, you know, Jessie Fleming would get on the ball, JANINE Beckie would get on the ball. There'd be stuff to be excited about. So I think ultimately this is a you know, consider it's the first game of the year. You're playing an England team where most of their players are in form. They're at home. To come out with a draw after going down 1-0, I think it's a very strong result. I just think you look at the performance, there's a lot of, you know, good, there's a lot of bad. So it's going to be interesting. Okay, going into the second and third games, how do you build off of that? How do you correct that? How do you find your legs with it being so early in the year? So overall, I'd say a solid performance.
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with you there. After the first half, it was kind of tough being a Canada fan, right? Because they were kind of playing negatively. I mean, of course, they didn't set out to play that way, and they didn't want to play that way, but it ended up happening, and they ended up getting kind of overpressured and overrun a bit. And there was I want to say, a spell within the first 20 minutes of the game where England looked like they could score a couple of times. And that's not the defense we're used to seeing from Canada. So exactly what you said. After the first half, it was a little bit down, but they did find their footing. And that goal from Beckie was outstanding. It was spectacular. Top bins, nothing more you can ask for from the player you're looking to in this moment to step up, right? Because of certain players missing and everything going on. So it was a tale of two halves, exactly what you said, where the second half, as a fan, you're elated, right? You like seeing Canada play this way. You like seeing the strong defense. You like seeing the actually being able to link up play to get to the final third. I mean, we'll work on the final third in the future, but to get to the final third, you need to have some beautiful link-up play. And we were seeing flashes of that in the second half. So overall, it was an amazing performance. I was thrilled watching the game. I enjoyed it. And I think Canada, the team themselves, would be super happy with that performance, considering how it started.
Yeah, I think Canada fans should be really happy with that performance, given what happened in the first half. I think a lot of England fans might be thinking that they could have come away with a few more goals and a better result. But I think when you're playing against a team that's hosting a tournament and there's that energy in the stadium, you maybe have to, park the bus a little bit in the first half to sort of get over that initial wave of energy, I guess. But I think once we saw players like Jessie Fleming get on the ball, I think we started to see a little bit more progression in that side as well. And overall, I think that's a solid performance from Canada. And I think they'll continue to sort of progress throughout the tournament for sure.
I was honestly, there's not, without saying the same thing over again, I did feel like it was just the atmosphere in the first half. Probably there were 13,000 ish fans in there, right? It was a big crowd, and English fans are not quiet. It was not a comfortable situation to jump into after not having a lot of time. So given all that, it's almost like we could have expected something similar to this. They grew into the game, and they ended up having spells in the second half where they were most definitely the better team, and that was encouraging. JANINE Beckie, that goal was spectacular. If it had been scored by anybody in the world, anybody would look at it as one of the best goals of the year, and I very much hope it gets the recognition it deserves, because it came at such a crucial time, and we were looking for exactly that. She is now tied for the fourth leading scorer in Canadian soccer history. What do you see Beckie contributing to this team over the 2022 season? Now, this 2022 season has massive implications over the next sort of 2.5, 3 years of Canadian women's football, because the qualifying in CONCACAF, the qualifying for both the World Cup and the Olympics are going to be done at this year's CONCACAF Women's Championship. Now, the team we're looking at right here, these are going to be some of the players, the core of players that are going to have to take Canada there. JANINE Beckie, a major piece. What do you see her doing for this team this year?
Well, I mean, exactly what she was doing today, right? Like when things aren't going your way, when you're looking for that spark, you can give it to your star player to create something. You can give it to your star player to receive the ball and have a little bit of space and have a beautiful touch and just score in the top corner, right? Like every team needs that when they're trying to get quality goals. Every team needs that when things aren't going exactly as they were planned, because of course in the sport, it's a sport of little moments, right? And a little moment of brilliance from someone like JANINE Beckie can turn the game on its head, and Canada's going to look to her to do that throughout this year.
Yeah,
Owen,
for sure.
Alex?
Yeah, I mean, I'll hop on and say exactly, what Samir mentioned with those moments. I think oftentimes in big games, when it gets chaotic, when it gets cagey, sometimes there's just a moment. As much as you'd like to control the game and win every game with a tactical masterclass, sometimes it gets down, it gets rough. You need that quote unquote knockout punch. And JANINE Beckie with that shot, it was a knockout punch right off her left boot, and that's kind of what you need in those big moments. And I think what JANINE Beckie's been very good at providing over her Canada career. I think the fact that with that goal, she became tied for the fourth all-time Canadian women's goal scoring. It shows that she might not get the respect that she always deserves, or certainly has deserved with some of her goals. But I mean, a moment like that just shows what she's capable of. And I think it's going to be key for Canada heading into this year, heading into some of the big games ahead, to have some game-breaking talent like that. They do across the roster. There's from back to front. There's game breakers. You got your Kadeisha Buchanans, your Vanessa Gilles, your Ashley Lawrences, your Jessie Flemings. You go down the list, but then you come up front. There's a solid cast of players, but especially as cliche as it is, with no Christine Sinclair in the lineup, you start to wonder who's going to step up. And while people have been stepping up for years, JANINE Beckie among them, I think they were saying she has as many goals as Christine Sinclair since 2015, both with 33. These are the sorts of goals that people will see and be like, oh yes, Canada has JANINE Beckie. She's been doing it. She will do it. And it came at the perfect moment. And I think we're going to have to see a lot of that from her this year. And I think she's more than ready to deliver based on what we've seen for her. She's just quietly produced, quietly doing her thing. And then people are starting to realize, okay, maybe she has already been stepping up for Christine Sinclair. Forget the question, who will step up? She's already been doing that.
You bring up that exact point, and that she's been doing it for a while now, and Canada will be looking for her to bring that leadership, right? Like that she has, and that experience that she has for this upcoming year, especially missing key experienced leaders such as Christine Sinclair and when Labbe retired, right? So it's going to be interesting to see how the team develops.
She's only
Samir,
27.
Yeah, I know. And Samir, I know you're used to seeing Pep Guardiola control these games like Manchester City. I know you're used to that, but those games can't always happen. But yeah, you just need those moments of quality to come up in those games. But in order to get those moments of quality, in order to keep those games close, you need to have a solid back line. And I talked about in the Squaretable yesterday, Kadeisha Buchanan essentially taking up the quality or space of two central defenders. She came in so big in that game. And Alexandre, I know you talked about the disrespect of her not being in that World 11. But something else you talked about was JANINE Beckie not getting those opportunities at Manchester City, despite the quality that we've seen her have. Why do you think that is, or why do you think she's being disrespected by the management there?
Oh boy, I mean, I think it's a very loaded question. I think Manchester City is in a tough spot right now. Last few years it's been, relatively good. They've been competing for league titles. competing, winning some FA Cups, competing for League Cups, competing in Champions League. But this year it's just kind of all hit a wall. I think Gareth Taylor, their manager over in Manchester, he hasn't exactly been doing the greatest of jobs. They kind of struggled a bit in the off season to bring in some players. If I'm not mistaken, they did bring in some really good players, but someone like JANINE BECKIE was there. She's been playing right back, even though she's best on the wing. She's been doing very good at right back. There was one game where she got 3 assists and it has looked good. And then for whatever reason, the manager just kind of froze her out and she hasn't been playing. It's been strange from what I've seen, from what I've read. He just seems to kind of play favorites at times. It's kind of more of an old school manager thing. And sometimes in soccer and you just find yourself on the wrong side of the line and there's not much you can do. So for her, that's why I see a goal like this is just the perfect moment you need to show to your club. Be like, okay, there's been rumors of me leaving to maybe go NWSL, maybe I go somewhere else in Europe. Well, just as a reminder that if you guys aren't going to play me, this is what I can do. This is the quality that I can bring in games, because it's not a question of quality, and it's, she works hard. So it's obviously not a question of work ethic. Obviously she just found herself on the wrong side of the line, and hopefully if they're Manchester City, they realize that and change that. But if not, hopefully she just finds a new club that will appreciate her talents, because you see it in a moment like this where you're like, why is that sitting on the bench at a big club when she could be playing and producing and doing that on a regular basis?
Yeah, I mean, it can't be a question of quality, right? Like just a couple of years ago for Manchester City, she played all 14 games for them and got 7 assists, I believe, that year. So like it can't be a question of quality. I know that she's going to use this tournament as kind of like a punch in the face to them, where it's like she's going to do her best in England on home soil. And today's game was exactly it, right? Like that was the perfect moment for her to score that goal. Not only for Canada, like put everything for the national team aside, like just for her playing against some of her teammates, playing on national TV in the country she plays in, right? Like she was a menace throughout the whole game. It's not just the goal. Like let's not pretend like she didn't do anything else. She was creating space. She was constantly making runs, right? She was constantly pressuring the defense. So she's really looking to use this tournament, and I'm happy for her that she got the goal today, so that she can prove to the management that she's worth a second chance to get back in the lineup.
Okay, so my take on the whole thing with JANINE BECKIE in doing this in England, you highlighted it exactly, Samir. So like doing this in England in the first game of the tournament against England, it couldn't have been any more perfect. And this is the way she's gonna force her way back into the City team. It is not a question of quality. It is exactly what Alexandra says, where sometimes you just fall out of favor. That's what happens with old school managers. It's happened so frequently in the European game, in the North American game. It's across all sports, and it's not a lot you can do. For me, though, the real story of the game was Canada's brick wall at the back. Kadeisha Buchanan was immense. Alexandra, can you just sort of put into context for people who might not know that much about her, how good she actually is?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think people realize how good Kadeisha Buchanan's been. I mean, she's been in the World 11 1 or 2 times, if I'm not mistaken. So just to give an idea, she's among the best at her position. She starts week in and week out for Lyon, which, on their day is usually they were the dominant force in European football, having won that span of, it was 5 Champions Leagues in a row, where Buchanan won 4 of them, which again, how many players out there winning that many Champions Leagues, even though they've, slowed down or maybe other teams have caught up to them, they're still a top 5 team on their day. She starts week in, week out. She's a force at the back. She gets things done in the other end on set pieces. She's a weapon. Her passing is phenomenal. She hardly misses a pass. She's composed. She's just an all-around very solid center back, one of the best at her position. And I think you just forget that sometimes, how good she is. You look back at the Olympics last year. Just every game, it was a big game, and she'd just be there giving you a 9 out of 10 performance, even in the lead up to it. I remember specifically because at the start of 2021, Buchanan missed the first 2 camps, one with she had COVID, the other she couldn't leave the country because of COVID protocols. And Vanessa Gilles stepped up. That's kind of where we saw the first of Vanessa Gilles in the emergence we now know today. She was kind of playing with Shalina Zadorsky. I think Jade Rose got a run in at the time. There's some other names. Canada defended well, and everyone was happy. You start to learn more about Vanessa Gilles, but then I remember in June, Kadeisha Buchanan came back, and it was like, it was already like up here. It was at a high level, and it hit the ceiling. It broke through the ceiling, and you forget how good Kadeisha Buchanan is until she's on the field. And it's a game like this where Canada is a bit against the ropes defensively. They're not looking like their usual selves. That's where you see her step up. I think she had like 5 blocks. She had 10 clearances. She completed over 80-something% of her passes. She had a lot of touches. Like, it was just such a complete game. And I think having someone like Buchanan, a star, someone to just have at the back line like that, obviously defending is a team game. When Canada's defending as a team, they're going to be unstoppable. But it's nice to know that when things go wrong, when they need that moment, they have a rock there who's going to lead them, and that's Buchanan. So yeah, I think she's a phenomenal player, and she deserves more respect internationally. I think Canada knows very well what they have in her, and in a game like this, you can only see that manifest itself.
Well said. I mean, the first half, it's hard, like you said, it's hard to put defense on an individual. It is a team effort, but I can honestly say, and I believe you guys would agree with me, that she single-handedly stopped maybe 1 or 2 scoring chances within that first half, like by herself. And it was there was that corner kick, I believe, in the first 20 minutes, and then there was a scramble in the box where she just got a foot in and got it out. I wish I had the timing of the game to tell you guys when it was, but like, she was immense, and she always has been. And you hit the nail on the head right there. You can see the difference. Like, Canada's a great defensive team without her, but then when she's there, they're a rock. They're an actual rock at the back.
Yeah, I have the stats here, and they're honestly ridiculous. Perfect on headers 1, perfect on dribbles completed, perfect on tackles 1. And the 2 that are crazy to me are the 10 clearances, 10, and the 4 blocks as well. And 4 of those blocks probably resulted in stopping a few good goals, if not clear-cut quality chances. And so, I mean, like I said yesterday, she makes up 2. She's basically a brick wall and a trench coat at the back for Canada. And not only that, not only is she good defensively, she's good at progressing the ball as well. And, can also dribble out of a few difficult situations. So, I mean, she's a great all-around defender. And I talked about in the Squaretable yesterday, Leon being an absolute dynasty over the past few years. And she's been applying her trade there, and she's a result of that. And so it's great to see for the national team.
And she's like just entering her prime, 26 years old.
That's crazy.
That's to imagine.
That's crazy.
Yeah, like she's only gonna get better over the next few years, barring any injuries, of course. And yeah, like, it's gonna be amazing to see this develop, and she can of course help develop younger defenders in Canada, and maybe the next generation of defenders can look up to her to try to be one of the best in the world, like she is.
Yeah, not everyone wants to grow up and be a defender. So if you have someone like that, that's a great help. That's a great help for the future of the national team.
Okay, so as Zoom has very very nicely informed us, we are running out of time on this meeting. We're down to like 10 minutes. So instead of doing a full player ratings, we're going to just go through everybody's player of the night. There were a ton of good options. I'm going to go first. My player of the night was Buchanan, pretty clearly.
Big surprise.
Yeah, I'm sure.
That's why he rushed to go first.
Yeah, I wanted to just like jump in there, make sure you guys like have to follow me. Owen?
I mean, it's like I don't want to go around the horn and say the same person, but I gotta be honest, and it's Kadeisha Buchanan. Kept the team in the game in the first half, as well as a couple of other defenders for sure, but did her job and then some. Great on both sides of the ball. Of course, you got to give credit to the moment of quality, but I think her defensive effort kept Canada in the game and allowed them to come away with a point.
I'm gonna go different from you guys. I'm gonna go with someone who really impressed me today, Ashley Lawrence. She was immense. She was doing great going forward with the ball, creating chances. I mean, JANINE Beckie's goal was created because of her run from the back. And also she had kept Kirby, her opposition, pressed really into her own half. And honestly, your role as a fullback, like that's pretty much what you got to do. Keep the pressure on the opposition fullback and press them back. So I'm going to go with Lawrence there for my player of the game.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, for me, shout out to JANINE Beckie. Goal like that is always going to be player of the match quality. Shout out to Jessie Fleming, who I thought grew into the game as it went on, and she started a bit slow, but once she started getting the ball, she had moments. But you're looking at what won them the game. I think you can't go anywhere but Kadeisha Buchanan. It's just without her on the field, it's hard to imagine this game finishing 1-1, and I just can't. I feel like that can't be ignored. It's one of those things we return maybe to say Owen was going through some of the stats earlier. Sometimes when defenders have stat padding games, it's not a good thing. Usually that means they were under pressure, they were struggling. But when a game finishes 1-1, you save several clear goals. It shows that you were a direct influence on the game, and I think Buchanan fills that. So I'll go Buchanan as my choice.
Okay. The one other player that none of us shouted out, but I would like to also shout out, Deanne Rose. She was also immense today. So, gonna move on a little bit, but just one last thing on the match before we jump into Germany. Final takeaway. One takeaway. Alexandra, what is your main, if you can distill it down to one thing, biggest takeaway from today?
I think it's just a reminder that this is going to be a process for Canada. I mean, I think you have to remember this is the first game of the year. You look at Canada's first game of the year last year against the US. There was a lot of good and there was a lot of bad from that game. And I think this game's kind of like that. It was similar as you got your 1-1. You showed some good things defensively. You had your moments. I think this shows that Canada, what they're going to be doing, especially in the final third, it's going to take time. And I'm very curious to see how in a few games what Bev Priestman's going to be able to do to rectify some of the issues there. But I think you look at what we saw today, if Canada is able to put it together over 90 minutes, there's no reason why they can't be a solid two-way force. So I'm encouraged by what I saw. For me, I just want to see them. I just want to see more. If I was going to boil it down to one word, I want to see more, be more consistency, more of that final third play, more just solidity at the back. I think you got a taste, but ultimately they're building towards something, and we're going to see that final product in a few months. It's never going to be the first game, but I just want to see more.
Okay, more. Not much more can be said. Sorry for the pun. Last thing that on the agenda, Germany. This is a massive game. Sunday, February 20th, 3:15 p.m. at Eastern time, that is, at Carrow Road in Norwich. And again, claps, it's on TSN, national broadcast, good stuff. So, first things first, any lineup sort of things you think might change? Alexandra, do you have anything you think we might see different?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think one place I'm looking is what's going to happen in goal. I thought Kaylin Sheridan, for the most part, did all right in this game. Didn't fully look like the Sheridan we saw in the NWSL recently, but obviously she's still growing. She's getting used to this playing behind the Canada back line. So with Canada having some depth options, I do look in goal. Otherwise, I think we're probably going to see a similar back line, maybe get Shalina Zadorsky in there just to freshen things up, keep competition high. Maybe get Gabrielle Carl there and at fullback, especially with Jade Reviere's unfortunate injury. It'd be hard to imagine her starting again. Obviously, you want to see Ashley Lawrence. I think going up through the midfield, I think Quinn has to start after what we saw from them today in the midfield. It was phenomenal. The passing, the work rate, we've been seeing that from them since last year. So I think that's a must start. I'd be very surprised not to see them in the lineup. I think we're going to see hopefully some more. One combo I want to see is at this point Quinn, Julia Grosso, and Jessie Fleming. Screw it, go out, play with a little more technical skill, some flair, some panache, and I think that would be the trio for that. So I think Canada might might try that. I think the fact that, Desiree Scott was brought off as early as she was, that's not something we often see from Priestman. So maybe it was a hint that she's going to be willing to try something like that. And then going up front, I think one thing that I really liked from this game was Nichelle Prince's shift at the number 9. She's done it a few times last year, but it's not often something she does, playing out and out as a number 9. But, Jordan Hoytema, mostly due to the service she got, didn't get a chance to influence the game. I think you give Nichelle Prince that shot and, fire up Hoytema, bring her off the bench, and then let whoever is the better of the two over those 2 games start the 3rd game. So I'd like to see Nichelle Prince get more of a run as a number 9. And then otherwise probably just keep JANINE, BECKIE, Deanne Rose. They both showed well. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for lineup in terms of possible tweaks for Germany. It's going to be tough. Germany's a technical team. England's typically a little more physical, so it's going to be a different challenge. And I think it'll be good for Canada to see what Germany brings up close.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. Canada's definitely needs to look towards figuring out their scoring woes, right? I mean, today they only scored 1 goal, and we had mentioned that in their past 6 games, I believe 7 games, they haven't scored more than 1 goal. So against Germany, they really need to bring some different offensive looks, something different maybe in the midfield to create more for their forwards, and we can see Canada hopefully scoring a little bit more.
All right, and the last thing, we're going to do score predictions, everybody's favorite. So we get to look back and see who actually, if anybody nailed it. I think that this one is going to be a tougher test, but again, I'm not really concerned about Canada defensively. And I suspect, given the sort of progress we saw once those 2 substitutions were made, unbelievable substitutions, by the way, we can expect to see them score a little more. Maybe they can run away with a 1. Maybe they can run away with a 1-0, maybe a 2-1. That's my 2-1 is my score prediction. Owen.
See, you brought up that stat about Canada not scoring more than 1 goal in a game. So I can't in good conscience give Canada a 2-1 win. I'll go with all reliable 1-1 yet again.
I knew that was
Let's see if it works out.
I knew that was coming because I was thinking the same thing. And I'm like, if I'm thinking it, Owen's gonna say it. So.
Okay, and Alexandra, score prediction quickly before Zoom kicks us off.
Let's go for a 0-0. It's a bit of a bold prediction, but it's hard to split these teams. I think we saw it in the first game, 2-1 draws. I think Canada's gonna keep in the draws, and 0-0, it's not going to be an entertaining result. Well, it can be an entertaining game, but I think 0-0, it's hard to predict anything other than a draw, and I'll skip the 1-1 since the others went for that.
Thank you very much, Alex. That was a fantastic conversation, really insightful. I had a great time. Before we head out, just want to remind you guys that Canada play Germany on Sunday, 3:15 Eastern Time. You can catch it on TSN. Later Sunday evening, we will be back. We'll either be in person, we'll be virtual, one or the other. We're going to be doing a Squaretable after the Germany game. Keep your eyes peeled on Canada Footy TV. Alex's Twitter will be in the link in the description below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Canada Footy TV. I'm Ryan May for Owen Hall and Samir Murji. Go Canada.